Hey, what's up guys? It's Austin. We got a new video for you tonight that is going to be about the Retron 5. So, the Retron 5 is a console from a company called Hyperkin, and the whole deal with this is that it plays 5 different kinds of games. We've got GBA, SNES, NES, Genesis, and Famicom. And the Famicom is pretty much the Japanese version of the NES. So, we're going to give this thing a try. We have all the cartridges that it plays besides the Famicom. We don't have any Famicom games yet. It might be something we try in the future, but tonight we're going to do what we have. We're going to run through a quick test of each of these cards and kind of see how it does. It looks really cool, and I'm going to go ahead and cut into a quick unboxing for you guys. All right, guys, so let's see what we got in the box. Breaking that seal. All right, so we have some cardboard. You have to excuse my terrible unboxing skills. This may be the first and last unboxing I actually do on camera. All this stuff is packed in there so tight that it's hard to get it all out. All right, so, sorry, this part of the cardboard over here was really flimsy, as you can see, so pulling it out, all it did was separate. But, so, it looks like we have some various plugs for Europe, some other country, and once again a different country. So we don't need those. We're in #America, so we should be okay. One of my favorite things to see come with anything is an included HDMI cable, because you can never have too many of those. We have a bunch laying around, but you know what? Won't hurt to have some more. So we also have 2 USB cables. We have a, see if I can focus on it. I don't think my focus is going to get that close, but a USB mini and USB micro. Then we have the included Bluetooth controller, which admittedly feels a little bit on the cheap side, but not terrible. Not too bad. The buttons are clicky but mushy at the same time, if that makes any sense. I don't think it's going to be terrible. And if you can hear this joystick, it's really clicky, and it actually feels pretty good. But the overall form factor is kind of weird. It's really square, kind of cuts into your hands a little bit. I don't know how this would feel for a long play session. It's not exactly ergonomic, but it looks nice. And next we have the console itself, with some classy bubble wrap. And I love bubble wrap. Oh yeah. So here's the console itself. You can see our cartridge slots here. This is actually a place where you can sit your controller, as you can see. Pretty neat. Fits in there nice. So on the front, we have a GBA cartridge port, Famicom, NES, SNES, Genesis. So pretty neat. Power button, our controller ports on the side, some more controller ports on this side. And this thing is made a whole lot better than the retro bit we did a review of a few videos back. Pretty nice. So let's get into some gameplay now. Looks like we have a little bit of like a splash landing screen, shows our consoles over here. Navigation, pretty simple. All right, so we're gonna start with Town and Country Surf Designs Wood and Water Rage. It's an NES game. It's pretty hard. Chris loves it. He played it growing up as a kid. It's okay by me. He may do a review of it later. If you guys are interested, comment, tell Chris you're interested. So we're gonna put this thing in the NES slot. One thing I noticed when we played this on our retro bit was it seemed to have an issue loading. I don't know if it may be the card. It looks like it says error, failed to dump ROM. So let's take it out. And it looks like it took it that time. So we're gonna click A to accept. And we're gonna do, looks like there's some settings. Let's just see what they are. Image filter, so we can actually turn scan lines on if we want to be, you know, really retro. Refresh rate, match screen. This thing actually has a ton of options. The retro bit has none of this. You plug in a cartridge and it either plays or it doesn't. And most of the time it doesn't. So let's go back and let's play this bad boy. Looks good so far. Press start, one player, start. Ooh, I may have picked 2 players. We'll just see if it runs. And like I said, guys, I'm terrible at this game. We're just using it as a reference to see if, you know, what runs well on this. And everything looks good, and I can tell a huge difference. This thing only upscales to 720p, but this compared to the retro bit that plays it out through the RCA regular analog video, night and day. This looks so much better. I'm really, really, really impressed. So I'm gonna click home on our controller, and it gives me some more options. We can actually do loads, saves. Man, this thing's heads and tails above that retro bit. Not trying to trash that thing, it's a pretty neat concept, but this Retron 5 is really impressing me in comparison. So let's go home. And we're gonna do a quick cut and we're gonna try our next game. All right, guys, so the next game we're gonna take a look at is Rocky Rodent. And bear in mind, these games aren't full reviews. I'm just testing this thing to see how these games look and how they play. Rocky Rodent, though, is a really interesting game. A lot of people don't like it, but I think it's cool. It's got a lot of interesting game dynamic. Like, your weapon in this game is your hair, which is silly to me, but you check it out when I'm playing it. It's actually a really good game. Like I said, some people don't like it. I guess I'm not one of those people. One thing I noticed whenever I was pulling the NES cartridge out is this thing has a friggin' death grip on these cartridges, which I don't think that's probably going to be a good thing because it could damage the pins that are on the inside of your cartridge. So if anybody has this thing that's had any issues with that, will you let me know in the comments? And until then, we'll keep you updated. It may be bad, it might not matter at all. I'm just kind of spitballing here. So I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a try now. I do notice that the SNES goes in a lot easier than the NES. All right, so let's play. As you see, I've already have a game going. This game takes forever to get started. So I went ahead and started a game for you guys so you didn't have to sit through the beginning montage of him talking. And immediately I die. One thing I noticed, I don't know if it's because of the emulation or it's a flaw with this game, but if you start walking right after you spawn, you're invisible and it can still kill you if you run into something. So here's the hair weapon deal I was talking about. It's pretty wild. If you see, I went invisible there for a second too. But you can use this as a weapon, and you can also use it. I'll show you in just a second. I'm gonna go back and get another one because I got hit. So if you get hit by something, it knocks your hair back and you have to find another spray can to fix it. So you can use it as a weapon like that. And then, like, I've got a hold of this guy so I can hit my B button again and it uses the armadillo I just shanked as a weapon. So I'm jumping, using my hair to stick into the blocks here on the end. So yeah, this thing runs good. It looks nice. It looks a lot better than anything I played on the retro bit. Once again, not trying to knock that. It's a pretty neat system. It's really cost effective in comparison to this, but the upscaling on this looks so much better than it does on the Retro bit. Alright, so I think that's enough Rocky Road. It's a cool game. If you're interested in me doing a full review, let me know in the comments. Might be something I'll do. Let's get our next cartridge. So now we're going to go... That was a little easier to get out than the NES cartridge, but it's still pretty hard. So now I'm going to do Sega Genesis. Let's try Bonkers. I haven't played this game yet, so it'll be interesting for all of us. I loved the show when I was a kid, though. This was like the best part of my mornings was watching Bonkers. So let's see how this cartridge goes in. Pretty decent. Alright, so it recognized it. It's loading up. And let's play this bad boy. So a little backstory on Bonkers. He's like a cartoon cop. It was a show, like a cartoon on the Disney Channel whenever I was a kid, so, 15 years or so ago. And this may be terrible, I'm not sure. Disney games seem to kind of be a highlight of the NES and the Genesis, so maybe it'll be a hidden gem I just wasn't aware of. But it looks like it's running well, and that's the main purpose of playing these games, is to see how they run on this. And so it looks like it's kind of like a shooting gallery type game. I'm trying to hit the stuff as it goes by. It's actually kind of fun. Not really sure it would have any sort of replay value at all, but if you want to kill 5 minutes, it's as good as any mobile game I've ever played. So I'm trying to shoot these guys before they can come up and steal the items on this pedestal. It looks like we're in a museum or something like that. So I'm trying to hit these guys with what looks like donuts before they can steal these items off the pedestal. Yeah, I did it. So not a whole lot of challenge. Decent game. It's probably meant for kids, but better than some of the Sega Genesis games I played. So I'll give this a 3 out of 5, but it runs great. So it looks like last but not least, we are going to try the GBA. I'm gonna go home and quit this real quick. Main menu. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this card out. Ooh, this thing, it just sounds so painful pulling these things out of there. It's my only gripe so far. Other than that, this thing's been sweet. So let's see if we can get Chris to hand us a Game Boy Advance game. All right, so we have Zelda the Minish Cap. We'll give this thing a try and see how it does. That went in there the easiest of any of these. I notice it's taken a little bit longer to load this than it did the other games. We're at 13%, and by this time all the other games were ready to play. Unknown cartridge. Warning, this cartridge is not recognized. This is usually due to poor connection. Do you still want to attempt to run the game? Yes. And I think that it said that because this cartridge I got off eBay for like super cheap, so it may be a fake. And that may be why. So, we'll see. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Which I got it really cheap, so like I'm not super upset about it or anything like that. Once again, we will fast forward through this part because Zelda games are notoriously long-winded in the beginning. So far, this looks really nice. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of Pokemon games. And I feel like playing Pokemon on the big TV would be awesome. So I'm super excited about that. And I also really love Zelda games. So being able to play all the Zelda games from the NES all the way to the Game Boy Advance. It's pretty awesome. So I'm excited. Plus we also have the N64 and the Dreamcast and the Switch, so I can get my Zelda fix in faux show. This plays great. As expected, all the controls work. One thing I did notice is A and B on the other games are the plus and minus, and for the Game Boy it's these two buttons, the two arrows, down arrow and the right arrow. But everything else seems to be working fine. This controller, it doesn't feel like the most expensive thing you've ever held, but it also doesn't feel like the worst thing ever. I give it like a 3 out of 5, but it's pretty good. For all the people knocking it so hard on the internet, I don't think it's worth that. You know, all the negative that everybody gives it. It's pretty good overall. So, I'm gonna give this thing my final thoughts. Overall, I give this 2 thumbs up. It's a great system to be able to play all your cartridges that you have in one easy to use package with one controller. You're not having to fuss with all the wires of running controllers and everywhere. But you can also actually use the original controllers on this as well if that's, you know, something that suits your fancy. But so let's talk downsides real quick. Like I said, the controller's a little bit cheap, but I like it. You guys might not. So that's up to you. It's all personal preference. The issue with pulling the games out though kind of sketches me out just a little bit. I'll keep you guys updated on, you know, the long-term effects of that. I might play some of our, you know, cheaper cartridges that we don't care as much about in it for a while and kind of see what happens to those, and then move up to the things that we care more about. But all in all, I definitely recommend this thing. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but I think it's worth every penny. Keep coming, checking us out. We're going to be doing a lot of cool videos coming up. Got some people sending us some new reproduction games that we're going to talk about on the channel, so look out for those. Look out for Lindsay joining us soon to do some reviews, and check us out on all of our social media platforms, and we'll see you guys next time.